Hello friends and greetings for the day. Welcome back to another tutorial on ISTQB Foundation level sample paper discussions where we are talking about tips, tricks and time management related to this examination. As a part of this particular tutorial, we are continuing with the chapter 4 and looking forward to have some more questions being discussed from the other remaining techniques, and we shall be understanding the tips and tricks related to the same as well. To continue, we have the next question, which is question number 22, and it says you are designing test cases based on the following decision table. And if you look at quickly on the decision table, it has three conditions, whereas different combinations have been formed from R1 to R7. And it has conditions as age, experience, whether registered or not, and there are some categories defined for it. So at this point, it says so far you have designed the following test cases. So if I look at the test cases and start solving this parallelly, because it's a good habit to start understanding the table and get the context of it. So test case 1 says 19-year-old unregistered man with no experience. So if I quickly compare with the table, 19 falls into R2 as well as R6, and then it says unregistered. So I should see registered where it is no, because in R6 it is yes. So it should go into the R3, R2 or R3. And then it says with no experience. So no experience is covered in R2. So it easily correlates that yes, it is the R2 which is being fulfilled and covers the category that is A and D. So that's how simple it is to quickly derive the information from the table so that we can easily refer to it and conclude that what exactly is being expected as a part of this particular question. So understanding the table will make your job easier. If you get stuck with the table, that is where you will not be able to come to the conclusion that what exactly is the right answer, right? So let's continue further. The test case 2 we have for you is 65-year-old unregistered woman with 5 years of experience. Again, man and woman are just distractions because in any of the criteria, it does not mention whether it is supposed to be a man or woman. So it's just kind of like giving you in terms of diversion. So don't get distracted by that. As far as it is a condition, you should consider them into account. So once again, test case 2 is 65-year-old. If I see it is there in R3 as well as R6, and then unregistered woman. So unregistered is basically a part of R3, and that gets covered easily there. And with again 5 years of experience, and I see R3 is also saying greater than 4, right? And the expected result should be category B, which is absolutely right. Same way, TC3, 66-year-old registered man with no experience, which simply goes to R7. You can see 66-year-old there, and registered man, it is yes, and category C. And 65-year-old registered woman with 4 years of experience, expected result is D and C, and this goes to R6 because 65-year registered, because in R3 65 years are there but unregistered, it says no. So R6 is getting fulfilled. So one way so far, by reading the question itself, I have solved part of the question, that is R2, R3, R7 and R6 are already covered. Now the question says, which of the following test cases when added to the existing set of test cases will increase the decision table coverage? So all we mean to say here, or we understand from this question, is there are 7 combinations possible, that is R1 from R7, and 4 of them we have already covered. The question is trying to ask us which of the following option has a test which would increase the coverage. That means anything other than these 4 combinations. That means anything which would be repeated should not be counted, and anything which is additional to these 4 tests should be taken into account. So let's start solving that. The option A says 66-year-old unregistered man with no experience, expected result, the category is B. If I look into this basically falls into matching into the rule 4, and this is not yet covered because so far we have covered R2, R3, R6 and R7, but R4 is not yet taken into account. So looks a very good option and should be the right, but because there are no conflicts, but let's cross check. Option B says, of course, 55-year-old unregistered woman with 2 years of experience and expected, that is category A. And if I consider this into the table, it goes very much as a copy of TC1, which again is repeating the rule number 2. So it's a repetition, should not be considered. And number C says, option C says condition is 19-year-old registered woman with 5 years of experience, and expected result, the category is D. And this goes into R6, which is again repeated because it's already covered with our test case 4. And option D says no additional test case can increase the already achieved decision table coverage. Two ways to handle that. Number one, of course, we found a test which can increase the coverage. And as far as there are 7 tests, we certainly need more tests, and we have only covered 4 of them. So 3 additional tests can always be written to increase the coverage of this particular scenario. And that is where we can say, no, the option D is not valid. So with that way, you can easily come to the conclusion at any point of time during the examination that how you can save your time to come to the conclusion. So never start with the options, always start solving yourself and then read the options, apply back on the table. For that, you need to really understand the table, that what the table is trying to convey. So put together, the right answer for this particular question is A, that is 66-year-old unregistered man with no experience. Expected result is category B, which covers the rule 4, which is an addition to our existing test cases to add more value. Let's move on to the next question. The next question we have for you is question number 23. And this is related to state transition testing. It says you are applying state transition testing to the hotel room reservation system modeled by the following state transition table with 4 states and 5 different events. So right here we see the 4 states here: requesting, confirmed, waiting list, end. And there are 5 different status, that is events, that is available, not available, change room, cancel, and pay. And just a high level understanding, it means that you are in S1, and if that is requesting for a room, if the room is available, that means the status is available, it will go to S2. That means it will confirm it. And once you are in S2, you can proceed to make the payment or get to the cancellation. So you can see there are S4 from S2. The possibilities are S4 in cancel and pay. That means you can cancel once getting confirmed, or you can pay the amount and then proceed to S4. Also, if you see once confirmed, you have a possibility that you would like to change the room, then it will go back to S1. That means from change room, if you request to change the room, then it will go back to S1, which is requesting, and again it will follow the process, that is whether it is available or not available. And that makes us our job to tackle this table very easily. But if in case you find it a little difficult to remember the flow and follow the table, you can always draw a quick rough diagram, the rough sheet provided to you or wherever you're doing the rough work, which is allowed to you during the examination, to have a better understanding of it, which would make more sense. Okay, in case this table is not enough for you to conclude that. Let's further continue with the question. The question says, assuming all test cases start in the requesting state, and which of the following test case represented as sequence of events achieves the highest valid transition coverage? So as usual, the generic question is what is being asked to you, which of these cover the highest valid, but starting from the requesting. But if you look at the options here, none of the options start from requesting, because saying that in the question itself, that assume that it is starting from requesting. After that, which is the path which covers the maximum number of transition. So let's start from the top. Option A says not available, then change room, again not available, cancel. If you count this or basically go through these particular transitions, it basically has not available events which correspond to the same transition between S1 and S3. Thus, it only covers 4 out of 7 valid events. So 4 out of 7 is the coverage for the test 1. And if I look at option B says available, change room, not available, available, pay, right? And in this option, if you see, the sequence of 5 events are being covered, and they are pretty much unique in terms of the sequence. That is, first it is available, and then it is confirmed. From confirmed, you want to change the room. So from change the room, again, you are going back to requesting. From requesting, you said that the no rooms are not available. So it is in S3, which is waiting list. And once from waiting list, again, you get available, like it will be confirmed, and you can go for making the payment. So yes, it covers a perfect sequence, which takes 5 different events into account, or 5 different valid transitions into account, which is higher than the previous one. Let's look at the C. Option C says available, change room, available, change room, not available. So it's a cyclic process, as you can understand yourself, that it is repeating the loop within the two different particular state. So if I just count this particularly together, it only covers three different transitions where both available events correspond to the same transition from S1 to S2 itself, right? So that cannot be taken into account because it's less than both of the other. And if I take the option D into account, that is not available, cancel, change room, available, and pay. In this, the sequence of 5 events does not represent a feasible test case, because after cancellation, you cannot proceed ahead, right? Because you have canceled, then it should go back to requesting. And based on requesting, it should come back to other things. So however, our scenario says that the initial point of kickoff is requesting, but as in when you cancel it somewhere in between, it should again tell me to start with requesting itself, right? Which I don't see in the option D. And that's where it make my job of defining that the D option is not at all a test case. And put together, the right answer for this particular question is B, that is available, change room, then requesting. From there, it can go to not available as well. And then from not available, it will become available. And once available, you can make the payment, which is the right answer, which covers the maximum, which is 5 out of 7 transitions. So you may have different fictitious and multiple hypothetical scenarios given to you. All you have to have is patience. And I would suggest that you should save your time from the other questions to utilize for these type of questions, so that you understand there are a lot of time which can be used than other questions in this type of questions. So please preserve your time to utilize them for this. If required, you can even handle these questions if you see they are complicated at a later point of time rather than handling in the right sequence. So you can handle all easy questions first and then come to the complicated ones to better do your time management. Let's move on to the next question. The next question we are talking about is number 24, and it says your test suite S for a program P achieves 100% statement coverage. It consists of 3 test cases, each of which achieve 50% statement coverage. Which of the following statement coverage is correct? Now, there are just simple notations here that test suite is given with a name as S and program is given as P. They're just trying to play around with your understanding on statement coverage, that no matter what number of test cases you have written, you are just achieving with these 3 test cases the 100% statement coverage. And at the same time, they just try to add a little more confusion by stating that each of the test covers 50%. So it's not that like the 3 test case together covers 150%. Remember that from some of the earlier question, we told you that at any point this could achieve 100% code coverage itself. But it's just that the 50% coverage which one test might be covering is kind of like sharing some of the part of it with the other test with respect to 50%. So say for example, the 50% covers 1, 2, 3, then this 50% covers 2, 3, 4, right? So that's the context what they're trying to convey you. So don't get ever confused that is this test suite going to cover 150% coverage. Okay, that never happens. There is code which is 100% and all my tests would only cover that code, right? So the question here once again is which of the following statement is correct? And for that, all we have to do is start reading the options. Option A says executing S will cause all possible failures in P. That's a little tricky statement by multiple ways. So as far as you have an equation given to you, you can make a judgment on that. And second important thing is, as per the principle of testing, number 1 principle, it says that testing shows presence of defect but not their absence. So I may not be able to completely be satisfied with this option that executing a test suite would result into detection of all defects, right? That's a contradicting statement. And with respect to equation, if I say equation is like, something x is equal to y divided by z, then y divided by z equal to 0, like z is equal to 0, could something be very different, right? So that's not the point, because z divided z, if it equals to 0, will cause a failure only, right? And that's where things are going to be different. So it's not that any test suite can result into all type of failures. And as far as the context is not given to you, that means the equation has or the program has been not be provided to you, I cannot make that blind statement, including the principal concept. Let's move to option B. Option B says S achieves 100% branch coverage for P. Now, please remember, there is a statement which we learned that 100% branch coverage guarantees 100% statement coverage, but not vice versa. So in the question, they have given you 100% statement coverage is achieved by these test cases. So B is other way around. It is saying if 100% statement coverage is achieved, that means it will also achieve 100% branch coverage, which is certainly not correct. So B can be easily ruled out. Let's go to option C. Option C says it is every executable statement in P containing a defect has been run at least once during the execution of S. Now, this statement, more technical definition or meaning of it, the reason is, first of all, every single test being executed is adding some value. As I told you, like 1, 2, 3, and second test is covering 2, 3, 4. So I cannot just skip any of these tests, right? So it is one way covering every single line of the code. So all three tests together achieves the 100% coverage. So yes, that would make more sense that if I execute the test suite tests, each line of the code is getting covered, and that's how it is covering the required coverage. And again, do not get distracted by the keyword that containing a defect. We had this question in the set A also, where we had this option. And yes, the reason what we are testing it for, because it contains a defect. If it does not contain a defect and you're sure about it, you don't have to test it. Okay, so don't get distracted by the keyword that, okay, does it contain a defect? No, yes, exactly. It contains a defect. That's the reason you're testing it. Let's move on to the option D. Option D says after removing one test case from S, the remaining two test cases will still achieve 100% statement coverage. The removed test case may it provide coverage of some statement that are not covered by either of the other two test cases. So as I told you, say for example, 1, 2, 3 and 2, 3, 4. So if I eliminate one of the test, maybe that one is not covered. Then this covers only 2, 3, 4. So it's not necessary that they are uniquely covering 50, 50, 50. Right? They might be submerged and having a concatenation of things together. So I cannot make that statement as well. So these are the justifications which would help you to conclude at any point of time that what should be the right answer. And this is the level of justification you need to provide yourself before opting up a right answer. So to conclude, the right answer for this particular question is C. Every executable statement in P containing a defect, which is just a catch, has been run at least once during the execution of S. Okay, so don't get distracted by some keywords like that. Rather concentrate on what is the subject. Let's move on to the next question. And the next question we have for you is question number 25. And it says, why does white box testing facilitate defect detection even when the software specification is vague, outdated, or incomplete? This question has been taken from the topic applying white box test techniques, where we discuss about the benefit of white box test techniques. And we highlighted to you that white box test techniques has its own set of benefits, like it covers every part of the code, which sometimes black box testing cannot cover. And when specifications are poor, white box test techniques could be of great help and be substitute to that of supporting the black box test technique. But at the same time, it also has drawbacks, like when we talk about if the code is not at all implemented, then it would be of a bigger challenge as well, right? So let's start looking at the options, that what are they trying to say. Option A here says test cases are designed based on the structure of the test object rather than the specification. Indeed, if we are saying that it is about white box test technique and the specifications are vague, when specifications are vague, of course, I cannot apply black box test technique. So of course, their white box test techniques are dependent on as a basis on the structure and the code. So looks pretty much correct statement. Let's look at option B. Option B says for each white box test technique, the coverage can be well defined and easily measured. Now that's a little tricky statement. Okay, why? The fact that the coverage can be precisely defined is not the right reason. The achieved level of coverage would have much more impact than the possibility to measure the coverage. So measuring the coverage is not a big deal, but is that going to really cover 100% of it is more important. The amount of coverage, the percentage of coverage is the concern for us, right? So that's again a little tricky statement to hold good in all means. Thus, I may not take this as a preferable option. Option C says white box test technique are very well designed to detect omissions in the requirement. Contradicting, straightforward, because requirements are a basis for black box test technique. And when you are saying white box, it is using code as a basis. So how can white box test technique find omitting, in the requirements? So that's not what exactly it does. So this is pretty straightforward. Option D says white box test techniques can be used in both static testing and dynamic testing. Again, that's another tricky one. Of course, the statement is true, but this is not the right answer. The reason is there is no connection between the capability which to be used for static and dynamic testing and the claim that white box testing facilitates defect detection even in with the poor specification. So that fulfills, it's not necessary that white box testing can be used in both, because static testing is even applicable to the requirements and design review. But when you say specifications are poorly defined, then that's not something what I can pick it up as one of the conclusive answer compared to that of other option which I have. So in that context put together, the right answer is A, that is, test cases are designed based on the structure of the test object rather than the specifications, because we are clearly saying we are using white box test technique and the specifications are poorly defined. So that makes my job clear to help understand how exactly we should tackle such questions and come to the conclusions with no doubts and no clarification. So that's all from this particular tutorial, team. Should you have anything else, feel free to comment below. I'm always there to address your queries and answer them well. Till then, keep learning, keep exploring, keep understanding the context. Thanks for watching the video, team, and happy learning.